Good morning again, one and all. Now, oh blimey, was it 3 years ago now? 2 years ago? I don't know when it was, but when I did my 14-part series on the Three Rivers of Rye. Oh, forgive the speech there, it's early in the morning. I finished it in Rye itself, and since then several people have said to me, well, why did you finish it in Rye? Because the river doesn't go into the sea in Rye. And my thinking at the time was, I was making a video story about the Three Rivers of Rye, and they eventually moved into one in Rye itself, and I thought that would be a logical end to it. But the request to go further that made me think perhaps I should finish the story now. So I suppose you could say the title of this video is The Three Rivers of Rye, Part 15, the Epilogue. Because I'm going down to Rye Harbour and we're going to have a look, and even then I won't actually be at where the river flows into the sea, simply because there's another nearly a mile of never worked with children, animals and motor vehicles. There's nearly another mile of land, silted up, shingle beach, what have you, beyond what is now the settlement of Rye Harbour. But I thought I'd stop here and just have a look at this as the sun is rising above the misty fields. What a lovely colour when you get close to it, isn't it? And we come back, and there he is in all his glory. And let's carry on driving down the road to Rye Harbour and go and meet him, shall we? Rye Harbour, excuse me, as a settlement has only really been here since the early 19th century. There was a brigade of dragoons, if that's what you could call it, stationed here in 1805 before they built this Martello Tower, which I'll just zoom in on there. That had been built by about 1810, and at the time this was where the River Rother met the sea. But as you can see, if I pan back looking over, there's quite a bit more land down there. As I say, nearly another mile before it finally hits the sea, but that's too far for me to walk, and it's private land now. But there was a network of little railway lines across here. One branch came down from the main line, and that closed in 1962. I'm going to go and have a look to see if there's anything left to be seen, but although this didn't come from that line, it never carried passengers. Somebody still owns this delightful property formed of an old railway carriage. One of the earliest buildings here, of course, was the watch house. There's a lovely building there, and I'm standing right beside the flagpole, which used to send signals to shipping, and I think could still be used for the same purpose these days if you wanted to. So I head across here towards the water's edge. Now this bridge confuses me because one of the lines, and it wasn't a standard gauge line, I think there was quite a bit of aggregate industry here at one time, shingle and what have you. This bridge suggests to me that it was probably a railway bridge. And I know one of the lines used to come along, straight along from where we're looking now, and it went over the other side there and met up at right angles via a wagon turntable with the standard gauge branch line. Was this a bridge? You could certainly imagine a small tramway at that lower level going along there. I don't know. Was it a level crossing? It's a mystery, because when you look along that pathway there, you could be forgiven for thinking that that's a railway track bed. In which case, did it suddenly dip and go underneath here? Interesting. Anyway, this is Rye Harbour lifeboat station. They had a lifeboat here called the Mary Stamford, and one terrible night back in 1928 she was called out to rescue a ship. I think it came from Eastern Europe somewhere, and here is a very nice memorial to it. What they didn't know was that the vessel that was stricken had actually already been rescued, and the whole crew died. And unfortunately, the coxswain's son, Jimmy, his was the only body they were unable to recover. Full respect to these, and full respect to everybody else that volunteers for our lifeboats. Many given their lives voluntarily. Well, I think they might get paid for a shout, but that's not the point. They volunteer their services to do this work because it seems to be the way it's done in this country. Government relies on volunteers. So I'm just going to stand in front of this sign for a moment. God bless them all. I get very emotional with things like that. Now, here's a funny thing. I've no idea what those birds are. Never heard a song like that before.
I think they might be oyster catchers. You'll see one a little later on. I've only ever heard them do a single shrill cry, but that sounds presumably like them, I think.
Perhaps somebody could enlighten me. But I'm down here on a public slipway, and as I was saying, now here's a funny thing. The Harbour Master's office is over on the other side of the river here. But of course it's 5 or 6 miles by road. You've got to go into Rye and out the other side and down a lane from the Canberra road. Type of gold probably. Once upon a time there used to be a little railway station over there, the ferry station on the Rye and Canberra tramway, and you could get a little ferry across the river here. I've spoken about the Rye and Canberra tramway before. That was requisitioned by the War Department in 1939 and handed back after the war in such an atrocious condition that repair it wouldn't be viable. I'm just looking, I'm wondering what that is down there. Just looks like an ordinary mallard. Minding its own business. You can get quite large ships up here. Up round the corner they bring in timber and aggregates. Looks like something's been in and out this morning because there's quite a bit of damp here. But anyway, this is it. The Three Rivers of Rye meet as one in Rye, and together They flow out to the sea down there. So after you've seen this video, you've travelled almost all the way down the whole of the Three Rivers. And it's been an absolute pleasure doing the filming to bring the story to you. The sun is coming up, and now I'm going to take a walk out to see if I can see anything left of the old standard gauge railway line here. There's quite a nice little pub here, the William the Conqueror. Very popular in the summer. Yeah. You can get your dog some ice cream if you want. Another more modern building on the end of the block here. You can stay at the William the Conqueror if you want. Well, I think we can safely say, looking down there, that I'm actually standing on what was the end of the Rye Harbour branch line. It doesn't have that have the look of an old railway track to you. And here where I'm standing was probably one of the old wagon turntables, and that mineral line would have come in along where I showed you before, probably along here, and I'm guessing that where these seats in that are at one time would have been, yes, would have been the wagon turntable. Yeah. But anyway, you can see up there there's quite a large ship berthed at Rye Wharf, and if you look at the way the river has been sculpted around the corner there, I'd almost say that has been dredged out to give sufficient room for that larger ship to turn. And over on the other side we've got, where is it? There it is. You see some of the houses on the Canberra Road. There we are. Nothing left that I can see physically to say anything about the harbour branch, but, and of course I've got to be very careful because I certainly don't want to upset the people in these houses, but have a look at this fencing here. It's old railway sleepers, probably recovered when the line was shut in 1962. And now, of course, I guess this is part of a trailway, and you could probably walk along there for quite some distance. But that's the end of the Rye Harbour standard gauge railway branch. I see it, but I don't believe it. Surely not beer for dogs. They've got to be water, surely. Free dogs beer, it says. There you go. How interesting. You see, you've got to come out at odd times of the day. I can't really get, or can I? Let's have a look. Can I get a better view of the flagstaff? I walk gently this way. Yes, I think I can. Look at that. Used to be lots of these along the coast. There was one on top of Beachy Head that would signal messages from Lloyd's of London to their ships. Whether this was a Lloyd's one or whether this was an Admiralty one, I don't know, but still in use today by the looks of it. So there we are. It's very difficult to avoid invading people's privacy when you're filming, but there's a nice little set of houses there, little cottages, in between more modern ones. I don't know if you can hear that. The first cuckoo I've heard. I come here, this is the nature reserve, and there's already people walking down there, bird watchers I guess. The Rye Harbour, country park. But here we are closer to the Martello Tower, and it doesn't look as though it's particularly well looked after these days, although I don't know. It's covered in ivy and foliage. Nature is recovering it, and looking at the line of those houses there, you'll see where one of the little tramways used to come along behind that row of houses there, and then across on that bank that I showed you earlier on. Can you hear that cuckoo? Certainly loud. Good grief. Oh well, the dangers of filming on a Saturday morning. People have got to get up and go to work and that, I suppose, so there we are. There is the sun. I've just seen a swift over there, just panning the camera around. The cuckoos move further away. Listen to the noise. Isn't it lovely? Just thought I'd show you this useful little map they've got here. Showing the various things at Rye Harbour. What I didn't see was the Harbour Church. Interesting. Oh, I see. Yeah, no, I haven't got there yet. They do have buses here. Oh, there's the bus shelter. Quite a nice one, that. Built out of stone and breeze block. And quite a regular little local bus service here. More or less every 40 minutes or so. It's not too bad, and where I'm standing is on the corner of Tram Road. Some of the oldest houses in Rye Harbour are down there, and where they've put Mary Stanford Drive, another one of those little branches off the harbour line came down and went behind that row of houses there, and I guess down towards where they would get some more shingle or what have you. Little clues as to what used to go on here. I'm taking this from the car because it's not worth getting out. But this is the local Methodist church. Not sure of its date, probably around 1860, 1870, something like that, maybe a bit later. Still used occasionally, the local Methodist circuit for Hastings, Rye. That's of interest on the wall there, although not in use now, obviously. But, oh, perhaps it is. No, it isn't, no. George V, wall-mounted post box. There we go. And yet that house seems fairly modern. So I wonder if that's something that they bought and put in there for decoration. Because it certainly doesn't look like a George V house to me. But I could be wrong. Maybe it was, but it's been modernised. Who knows? Well, I'm just looking out of Rye Harbour now, back towards Rye. It's starting to get busy. About 6 o'clock in the morning, perhaps. And there's one of the trading estates that's been built here now, and very interesting pieces of architecture at the entrance. But I couldn't leave the harbour without visiting the church. The Church of the Holy Spirit, Rye Harbour. Hopefully it's not going to start getting too busy too soon, and that I've just got time enough to take a quick walk and have a look at the church. There used to be a branch off the standard gauge line that went round behind the church. More aggregates, I guess. It's quite an interesting church, quite a late one this, 1849, built partly of local bluestone and caen stone. I'm here at the gate. And inside we have rolls of honour. This is the Great War, 1914 to 1918, so a nice war memorial. It is still in use. Some more modern flower there. Looks as though somebody's going to be coming in to do some work in the garden. Rather an interesting bell tower. Quite an unusual design, and the bell, of course, is in there. If you didn't know that the church weren't built until 1849, you might almost suspect that that was a Norman arch. But for the sake of my good friend Mark with a K,
And the one with the Q.
I'm going to touch the door anyway. Usual selection of churchyard trees. I'm not going to go too far round, but amongst the graves, every one of which obviously will tell a story, I find this. This is obviously a lifeboat. I can't. I'm trying to move a bit closer to it. This is a Mary Stamford Church memorial. I thought it might be. I get quite emotional when I see things like this, because as time goes on, there seems to be less and less people who are willing to undertake these sort of duties. You do wonder, is it something like in America where they should be paid for by the government? But on the other hand, isn't there something wonderful about the tradition of people volunteering to put their lives on the line to save others? We're becoming a very selfish society, and I think organisations like the lifeboat, it just goes to show that there still is some selflessness around in the world, and long may it continue. Now, Roy Edwards always finishes his videos, and go and have a look at his channel. Some quite interesting stuff he puts on. He always finishes it with, let's hope there'll be peace all around the world, and boy oh boy, I do agree with his sentiments. I'm not sure what these plants are. I think they're Alexanders. But they don't, the flower heads don't look big enough. But as we're walking around the corner here, the sun is just peeping round. There's another door, not an ancient door, but there we go. Lovely peaceful churchyard, and more graves over there. Would be nice to be able to go inside, but at this time of the morning, on any day, I certainly don't think it would be open. But it's been lovely having a walk round. Obviously the sheep like walking around here as well sometimes. I don't think the door is open. No, which is a shame, but never mind, I understand why. Unfortunately, some people can't be trusted. But there we are. St Mary's Church at Rye Harbour.
Where did that come from? It's the Church of the Holy Spirit.
Back out to the Lich Gate. Two great big lorries come in to collect their aggregates, or whatever it is they're collecting. I close the gate on the church, and say thank you very much for watching. This is the conclusion of the epilogue to my series on the Three Rivers of Rye. If you haven't seen others in the series yet, I have got them down in the list of, I don't know what you call it now. It's in a list anyway. Watch list, playlist, call it what you like. So do have a look. Follow me on my journey, although it was some time ago now. I suppose I should do what everybody else does. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so. It won't cost you a penny. It might get some other people shown my videos that might enjoy what I do. It's not professional. I don't intend it to be. I don't get money for it. I don't want money for it. It gives me pleasure to get out and about filming, and I hope it gives you pleasure following my adventures. So do like, do subscribe, and we'll see you again soon. It's now 6:30 in the morning and everything's starting to get really too busy. But here is an epilogue to the epilogue. A nicely different view of Rye from the Harbour Road. There it is. There's the church up on the hill. And there is where the Three Rivers of Rye become one. And some more birdsong that I don't know. I really wish I did. So many different types this morning. Lovely, isn't it?